You were scrolling down memory lane when you accidentally tapped your ex's post from years ago. Better delete the whole app. When scrolling's a bust, tacos are a must. Paso the old El Paso.
Pick up an old El Paso standard stuffed taco kit today.
When modern life gets rough, grab the timeless taste you love. Paso the old El Paso.
We've got gifting all wrapped up at Sephora. Gift more and spend less with our value sets, packed with the best makeup, skincare, fragrances, and hair care they'll love. This year's showstopper gift sets are bursting with beauty products from Rare Beauty, Summer Fridays, Glossier, Amika, and so much more. Shop holiday gifts at Sephora.com and give something beautiful.
I am Nicole Khalil, your host of the This Is Woman's Work podcast, where we're redefining what it means to be doing woman's work in the world today. And part of that redefinition is looking at how we, as women, treat, talk about, and support one another, professionally, personally, publicly, and yes, even behind closed doors. With our colleagues and our friends, our competition, and even the women we love to hate. We can no longer tolerate, excuse, or endorse women who hashtag women supporting women while they're whispering, criticizing, and undermining. That's not support. That's sabotage. Women still, at this time, have a reputation for gossip and cattiness. And I mean, really? Gossiping about friends who we claim to love? That mean girl shit is out. There are 1,000 ways to be a great friend, and gossiping behind someone's back isn't one of them. Me? I'm what you'd call a hide the body friend. I'll probably forget your birthday, but I will have your back. I will show up when it matters, and I will assume the asshole we're burying deserved it. And just to be clear, for the courtroom record, I have not actually buried any bodies. This is purely figurative. But I'm also working on being an even better front row friend because I can tell you from experience how absolutely incredible it is to have them. Front row friends are the ones who see possibilities, celebrate your wins, and cheer loud enough for the world to notice. They're not at all quiet or timid in their support, and they often are the ones who remind you who the fuck you are on the days when you forget. Front row friends, cheerleaders, hype women. I don't care what you call them, but I do care that you have them and that you become them. They are the opposite of mean girls because mean girls as teenagers, problematic. But grown-ass adults still acting like mean girls? Exhausting. Definitely insecure. And frankly, just sad. And the antidote is hype women. They celebrate, amplify, and elevate like Caroline Adams Miller taught us back on episode 137. Hype women practice ampleship. They're out there publicly celebrating each other, out loud, unapologetically, front row, because that's what confident, powerful, and happy women do. So, we're bringing all of this hype woman energy to this episode today with our guest, Erin Gallagher, CEO and founder of Hype Women, author of Hype Women, Breaking Free from Mean Girls, Patriarchy, and Systems Silencing You, and host of the Hype Woman podcast. I think it's pretty clear that she's standing firmly in the front row. Erin started her career fighting for LGBTQ plus rights at Service Members Legal Defense Network and has since spent more than 20 years creating movements, advising the White House, and guiding leaders at some of the world's biggest companies. So, Erin, I'm guessing you don't start a hype woman movement without a personal story. So I'd love to start by asking what led you to this work.
Okay, hold on. First, Nicole, like, girl, I'm truly gonna go back and listen to that intro and that setup on a daily basis once this goes live because it was so fucking good. It encapsulates everything that we're going to talk about today. And I love your passion around it because yes, there is excitement and energy when you think about the hype women in your life and the women you want to hype. But there is also frustration, anger, and just a don't have time for this shit anymore feeling when it comes to the mean girls. So So again, just
Thank you.
really,
I
really
clearly have feelings about it, right?
yes. Welcome to the club. Welcome
Yeah.
to the club. Okay, so sorry. Your first question is my backstory. Yeah, I mean, you talked about the first job that I had out of college, which was at Service Members Legal Defense Network, nonprofit legal aid watchdog. Entire mission was to lift the ban on gays in the military, which we ultimately did. Mission-driven work is so important. It is confusing to work inside of a mission-driven organization because your ultimate goal is to cease to exist.
You're right.
You don't want to be needed. You don't want the thing you're fighting for to have to be fought any longer. So it takes a very special type of person to want to stand in the line of fire. And when you find those people who are working towards that common goal, you truly become the best version of yourself. So that was my first job out of college. And the reason why I was drawn to that work is because I have always been a justice warrior. I have always cared about fairness and wanting to stand up for those who don't have as much power and privilege as the next person. And as I grew up and as I became a woman and as I entered the workplace and then corporate America, it became very clear how much power and privilege I have as a straight, white, cisgendered woman. And so instead of using that and weaponizing it to my advantage, which is what mean girls do, right? They say, I'm going to be in all of the places that I get to be in, and I'm going to make sure that I always am looking out for myself first. I saw it as a responsibility to stand in front of, beside, and behind all the other women who didn't have that same power and privilege. Again, this is power and privilege that I didn't earn or deserve. It's because we live in a white supremacist patriarchy. So that has been kind of my vibe, my energy, my instinct since I was a kid, like playground vigilante, truly. I was in fifth grade, I was called the Terminator. That was because you didn't mess around with people who, if someone was getting picked on, I stood in front of them. I mean, I truly physically put my body in front of lots of kids over the course of my elementary and middle school days. And then I have been doing that in other ways, somewhat, online in certain cases, or in rooms where decisions are being made about other people's lives. So I just want equity. I really that is what I believe is we are all owed and due. And when I see something inequitable happening, I cannot keep quiet about it.
Right. What I'm hearing is same friend. Like we would have been fast friends on the playground. It would have been my mouth that would have gotten us in trouble, and then you would have had to stand in front of me. But we would have been on the same page, same team.
Yes.
But what I'm hearing is there's an element of hype women. I was going the direction of celebrating each other, opposite of mean girls and all. But there is a fairness, equity, justice component of this. There is a hyping on behalf of the people who aren't in the position to hype as loud or as effectively or as clearly as maybe some of us can and are. Is that fair?
Yes, because you can't wait for someone to succeed to hype them.
Right.
That's sort of, there is a passivity to that. Even though hype is an action and a verb, if you're waiting for someone to be successful and then you're like, then I got your back, then I will show up. When you're shiny, I will be right there to make sure that shine goes further. No. We need to acknowledge the barriers that are in place, and we need to be people who are removing those barriers. We need to give access. What I have always found, and this has been the conversation that I've had inside of Fortune 500 companies, inside of the White House and other places, when we see the lack of women and people of color, and in particular women of color, in positions of power and influence, the reason why we see so few is not because they lack ambition, ability, or aspiration. It's because they don't have access. That is why, right? And And so that's what we need to pay attention to and identify. And once you remove the barriers and you create the access, oh my gosh, all of a sudden we have all of this diversity. And when diversity is present in these positions of power and influence, success is greater. So that to me is like this, the hyping of women begins far, far earlier than the moment when they have something to be celebrated and you celebrate it as if it's your own success. You need to be a part of the journey, the unfun, behind the scenes, dark days, getting pushback, getting no's. It's those women that you are in the trenches with. Like as you just said, you and I would have been on that playground together. It's those women that you know are going to have your back the whole way.
Right. You really poked at something for me. I have a little bit of a pet peeve around, I think we all have a tendency to align ourselves behind certain women who are very successful, very established, because there's no risk in it. And they're so far away from us that it's, I think of, the Mel Robbins or the Michelle Obama. There is this thing where we sort of use their names a lot. And it's not that they don't deserve their names to be spoken or that they aren't doing great work. They are. It's this thing about standing for someone before all of the social proof has caught up. The risk that is involved in caring enough about someone else to put their name out in rooms that they're not in, to share their work when not everybody already knows about it. There's something about that feels really important in this to me. Okay, so I want to talk about some of these mean girl behaviors that we should not be doing or accepting in this year, 2025. Like, I can't even believe we're still having some of these conversations. But what is still happening, consciously or unconsciously, that we need to be mindful of, that we need to stop participating or contributing to? Like, where does this just need to stop?
Yeah. I like to see it as a sitting down with yourself and doing a bit of an audit. First, do the audit of your sphere of influence, the people who you spend the most time with, whether these are your family members, your friends, women that are in your social circles because of your children or because of your community or because of interests that you have, and your colleagues, the people you work with, the women who are, in leadership roles that you're interfacing with in a professional setting. So we do an audit and sit there for a second and ask yourself, how do these women make me feel? Because I have found that you can quite quickly answer that question if you trust your instinct and you don't make excuses and rationalize and do all these other things. But when you really do sit down and say, when this woman's name pops up in my phone, when I see this woman get a headline, when she's in my social feed, what do I feel? And if that first feeling is angst, distress, you need to investigate that further. Because more often than not, those are the mean girls that have done you wrong, done your friends wrong, whatever it is that's in your current situation or your past. And we do continue to allow many of them to have access to us because they're out there pretending to be something that they're not. And we want to stay in their good graces because they are fooling a lot of people. So when you first do that audit and you say, okay, on a scale of mean girls to hype women, where do all of these women fall? The next thing I want you to do is I want you to start adjusting your spend, how you spend your time, your energy, and your money. Pull it back from those mean girls who are stealing your spirit and shift it and transfer it and invest more of it in the women who have your back. So that's the external audit. But also, Nicole, we have to do an internal audit.
Yeah.
Because I do believe that there is a mean girl inside of all of us. It is not our fault. It is our conditioning. We have been told our entire lives that women are our competition, that they are threats to us, that their success detracts from ours, that a light shining on her casts a shadow on you. This is not our fault, but it is our responsibility and our greatest opportunity to make a different choice. And so this is the shift. This is why I think the original post that I wrote back in 2023 caught fire the way that it did. It's why it grew into a movement and it's continued. It's because hype women who actually do want to see other women succeed, they are so tired of this.
Right.
They are tired of being a part of it. They're tired of having it happen to them. They're also tired of thinking it. So the next time you see a woman's success in front of you, and you have that first inclination of, really? Her? Is she really that good? Does she deserve that? What about me? I want you to say to yourself, hold on. Of course I'm feeling this way. I have been conditioned my entire life to feel this way. And I am going to now make a different choice. And then what you're going to do is you're going to hype her. And hype is an immediate ability to shift your neuropathways. You are going to transfer the cortisol that's pumping into your brain into endorphins. And granted, Nicole, I'm talking about hype women. When mean girls do that shit, you fucking block, delete, move on.
Thank you.
Right?
Yeah.
Walk away. Because like, I'm also not here to hype all women. That's something that is confusing to some people. They're like, how can you call her out? How can you? Because not all women deserve hype. Not all women are here for other women. There are a lot of women who are foot soldiers to the patriarchy who are doing the dirty work to keep us down.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I'm talking about the hype women. So when you have that moment where you think that thing, investigate it. I guarantee what you will find when you're having those feelings, it's usually what's underneath a little bit of that jealousy or that envy. It's desire.
Yes.
It's something you want, right?
Yeah.
It's something. And so that's okay. That's a signal. It's a sign. But you're not going to try to take her down or think negative thoughts about her or talk shit behind her back because you want it. You're going to celebrate the fact that she's doing it, and then you're going to work on it for yourself. So you're going to hype her. You're going to transfer your human capital, your social capital, your financial capital, and your political capital to her. And when you do that, now we start to change things. And next time it will be easier.
If you're anything like me, drinking enough water every day sounds great in theory, right up there with getting 8 hours of uninterrupted sleep and folding the laundry right away, which is why I found a smarter way to stay hydrated with Cure. Cure hydration packs are clean and simple, plant-based electrolytes, no added sugar, and just 25 calories. They hydrate better than water alone, and get this, they actually taste good. My favorite flavor is lemonade, but they have several great flavors that you can try, which make drinking water feel like less of a chore. They even have a Cure Hydration variety pack for kids. JJ uses them over long practices or tournament weekends, and honestly, I use them then too, because hauling kids around to all of their activities should qualify as a sport. Listen, staying hydrated isn't just about water. You also need electrolytes. That's why I love Cure. It's clean, tastes great, and actually works. And for This Is Woman's Work listeners, you can get 20% off your first order at curehydration.com/womanswork with code womanswork. And if you get a post-purchase survey, make sure to let them know you heard about Cure right here. It really helps support the show. Don't just drink more water, upgrade it with Cure.
Walmart Business is in the business of helping your business. Regardless of whether you're building bridges, building spreadsheets, or building lesson plans. Ooh, that looks fun. Walmart Business can help save you time, money, and hassle so you can focus on what you're building instead of what your supply closet is missing. In short, we take care of business so you can do more with yours. We're the Walmart you love, now for your business. Learn more at business.walmart.com.
If you or someone you love has been diagnosed with breast cancer, it can feel shocking, scary, and overwhelming all at the same time, leaving you feeling like you have no idea what to do or where to start. That's why Stage was created. Founded by breast cancer survivor who turned her own experience into a resource, ShopStage.co offers sisterly wisdom, medically vetted treatment tips, and curated essentials that make the journey less scary and a lot more human. From cozy pajamas and mastectomy bras to recovery pillows, stylish head wraps, soothing skin balms, even functional swimwear, Stage takes the guesswork out of what you'll need so you can focus on healing. Plus, their blog, Stage Advice, shares inspiring stories, tips for every step of treatment, and even a little levity along the way. No fear-mongering, no judgment, just love. Head to shopstage.co to shop, learn, or even create a gift registry and feel good knowing that 5% of every purchase funds research and patient support. And as a listener, you can use code WORKIT20 for 20% off your first order. That's shopstage.co, promo code WORKIT20. Because woman's work is about showing up for yourself, for each other, and with Stage, you don't have to do it alone. So, Erin, there's so many good things in there, but I want to tackle, you'd given us the question, how does this woman make me feel? And what I'm hearing is when we're looking at hype women, when we're looking at people who are out there doing great work, things we admire or whatever, and that feeling comes up. And by the way, it will come up for all of us. It does come up for me. I don't like it when it comes up, but I am honest enough to tell you that it does come up. I think you hit the nail on the head is exploring that a little bit deeper. Like, what is this feeling telling me, not about this person, but about me, about my desires, about what it's telling me about something I want or don't want? And then you said this, I just want to reiterate it. It's looking at it that as like knocking this person down isn't going to help you get what you want. It's not going to bring it any closer to you. If anything, it's an opportunity to say, well, if this person has it, then I know it's possible for me too. It creates an opening as opposed to opportunity to knock somebody down. Am I on track with what you're saying?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I would even say it creates an opening to reach out and say, how'd you do it?
Yeah.
Because that's the other thing we don't do enough as women is to ask for help, to ask for guidance, to reach out about the dream that we have. We often don't do it because, one, we don't want to look like we don't know what we're doing. We feel like asking for help or asking for some mentoring or guidance makes us look weaker.
Right.
That is not true. So we have to get over that feeling. But it also, we can't do this alone. And so when we aren't asking for help, we're just working against ourselves. There's no merit or glory in the woman who does it all by herself. She's going to be real fucking tired, burnt out, right? And by the time she achieves the success she's gone for, she's so fucking resentful of everyone that didn't help her because she didn't ask that she doesn't get to enjoy it. And so we have to stop with this scarcity mindset that, again, I do not blame us for. I understand why women have a scarcity mindset. We do not see ourselves in every position of power and influence in the world. Men do. Straight, white, cisgendered men know that they will always have a place because they see themselves everywhere. When we only see one or two of us in certain places, the message is, if one of you gets it, no one else will.
Right. Okay, you talked about not being a hype woman for a mean girl, right? And I sometimes struggle with this too, where, I don't think there is any situation that gives me permission to become a mean girl. I have other options, though. I can call out bad behavior when I see it. I can stop following somebody. I can have a conversation behind closed doors. I can cut somebody out of my environment. There are lots of options, but help me understand, when we see someone being a mean girl, how do we not fall into the trap of lowering ourselves to their level? How do we address that in a way that still has us hold on to our values and, show up in a way that we feel proud of?
Yeah. I think that this situation gets misrepresented because when a mean girl is doing something inappropriate, attacking another woman, taking her down, working against women, and then we call them out on it, the foot soldiers surround her and say, you're being a mean girl for doing that. So I think first we have to say, no, that's not true. I'm not becoming a mean girl by acknowledging and addressing mean girl behavior. I am witnessing it and I am saying it's not acceptable. So I think some of it is just, it's not about changing the way we do it or the way we handle it or the way your instinct wants you to move forward. It's about not getting gaslit into staying silent. And that's again what ends up happening is like the messages from the mean girls when you start to pull back, when you don't respond to them, when you don't engage, they are so threatened by that because everything about their existence relies on reaction and feeling like they have power over people. So when you don't allow them to have it, it drives them fucking insane.
Mm-hmm.
So they will come for you. They will attack you. It has happened to me countless times. It's happened to me in the past year from grown-ass women who are out there in the world pretending to have women's backs. So here's the shift that I've made. And this isn't going to be the choice that every woman makes. I don't think that this is a one-size-fits-all solution.
Mm-hmm.
I no longer am interested in teaching mean girls how to be good people. So I actually don't spend any time on it anymore. When that shit comes into my space, when that energy comes at me, I cut it off immediately. And I move on. I don't spend any more time trying to convince them of their behavior, trying to tell them why they need to change, trying to tell them how they made me feel. They fucking know.
Mm-hmm.
They know.
They did
I'm
it
a
on
40
purpose. They wanted you to feel that way. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, again, like they are hoping that like there's a version of me that's 5 years ago where I'm like, well, I think I must have done something and maybe that's why. No, I'm like, nope. That was absolutely inappropriate behavior. And you no longer have access to me. It's really simple. And I just move on. So that is kind of, that's me. That's my choice in this next decade of my life as a 43-year-old woman. I am focusing on hype women.
Mm-hmm.
That is who I'm focused on. I'm actually not focused on mean girls. So I'm not even out there trying to like tell mean girls like what I think of them. I'm trying to tell hype women that they don't deserve this and they can break free from them. And this is how they're going to do it.
I love that. And it tees me up perfectly for my next question, which is because we have been socialized towards scarcity and mean girl and gossip and like all these things. Talk to us about ways that we can practice being and becoming a hype woman. What are some things that are easy lifts or, that maybe might take a little more practice, but things that we can all be doing to make sure we end up on that side of the equation?
Yeah. I would approach it the same way I talked about kind of the mean girl audit. There is the external work and there's the internal work. So the internal work for becoming a hype woman, a better hype woman, a more embodied hype woman is that you got to take care of yourself. There are a lot of us who have spent the majority of our lives abandoning ourselves in service to others. That was my modus operandi for the first 40 years of my life, personally and professionally. If I wasn't in service to other people, what was the point? And so I abandoned myself in my physical health, mental health, joy, pleasure, all of it. I was so far down on the list, if I was even on the list that day. And so what I needed to do was I needed to take care of myself. And so I really do think that that is the most important first step is look at your daily habits and look at the places where you're putting your time and energy. Are they still working for you? Is that thing that you do every Tuesday because it's just the way you've always done it, whether it's a lunch with a friend or a certain type of exercise or whatever it looks like, is that still working? Because if it's not, then it's time to start making different choices. So it doesn't have to mean that you upend your life, that you quit your job and you leave your spouse and you move to another country. It could.
I was just going to say, it could mean that.
Right? It could mean that. It could mean that, and it does mean that for some people. But it is as simple as looking at your calendar for the next day and saying, okay, when I see these different activities, whether they're personal or professional, are they still working for me? And I'm not delusional in that, like, we have to pick our kids up from school and take them to soccer practice and do some of those things that don't necessarily spark the most joy. But like, you do, maybe you're annoyed in the moment for some of those, but you know why you're doing them, and there's a reason, there's a value system in place. I'm talking about the stuff that we have just gotten in the habit of continuing that we have outgrown.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the first step. And then the external step with becoming a better hype woman, becoming a hype woman that's fully embodied, is to think about your capital in 4 different areas: human, social, financial, and political. So you could truly sit down and make a list. You could pull out a piece of paper and say, okay, what is my human capital? My human capital is what I know. So this is my experience, my expertise, my education, the jobs that I've had. It's sort of like what I am really good at, what I like to do. That's your human capital. Your social capital is who you know. This is your network. This is the relationships that you've built over the course of your life. This is the platforms that you have a name on and people come to you for advice, counsel, direction. Then you have your political capital. This is who you are. This is your power and influence. It's what people know you as. And so you are able to, use that in lots of ways to get what you want and get things for other people. And then the final one is the one that I think is the simplest to understand, the one that we get the most financial capital. It's cash money, it's investments. So when you make a list of under each of those things about what your kind of bank account looks like inside of this Hype Women economy of these 4 different areas of capital, start transferring them. Start making deposits into other women in each of these areas, and you will begin to see it come back to you. Because there's a karmic deposit and withdrawal system that we are creating. This is a new ecosystem that women are building, and we are recognizing that our capital cannot just be financial because we have a whole world working against us, making the money that we deserve, keeping the money that we've earned, getting what we're due. We know this, right? We know that, first of all, we make less than men, but we also contribute $10.9 trillion of unpaid labor to the global economy every single year. So we are at a deficit when it comes to that system. This is a new ecosystem. And so if you think about it that way and you start hyping and you're making those choices every day, we are moving energy through each other.
I am so glad that you started by having us acknowledge something internal first, to like how we're taking care of ourselves, managing like our time and our energy and things like that internally. I think so often we as women are told to be others focused. We're told to do something to make an impact or make a difference and help others. And there is nothing wrong with any of those things. Those things are beautiful, but we're often doing it at the expense of ourselves. We're burnt out. We're exhausted. We have nothing fucking left in the tank. And it's like when I am at my edge, it is really hard to make the hype woman choice when the easier choice feels to go to mean girl. When I'm burnt out and running on fumes, my reaction isn't my best one. And so I think it's so important that we do this internal work as part of this process, like take care of ourselves so that we can show up for other women.
Nicole, we cannot stop lusting after and loathing other women's lives until we start loving our own.
Yeah.
And so that will be the cycle of self-destruction, is I want that, I don't want her to have that, until we actually are good with what's happening inside of our own house, inside of our own bodies. And so, what I have found over the course of my life, especially in the past few years when I finally was able to kind of break free from so much that had been holding me back, is that intuition is women's strongest superpower. Our intuition is the most powerful thing on the planet. And it's why the world doesn't want us to know it. Because when we do, everything is ours. Everything is ours. And so you can't trust your intuition, though, if you don't trust yourself. And this, again, is one of those scenarios where I'm not here to shame anyone about it, because I don't believe that it is our fault that this has happened. Inside of my 15 years in corporate America, inside of my 2.5 years inside of the first company that I co-founded, everyone told me that my experience didn't happen, that I was overreacting. I was too sensitive. That's not what they meant. I misunderstood. Why couldn't I just let it go, right? These were all the messages. And so when you hear that hundreds of times a year, maybe more, thousands of times, you start to say, oh, wow, I really don't know what the fuck I'm talking about,
Right. There is something wrong with me. I'm so sensitive. I'm too much. I'm all the
wrong. There is something wrong with me. I just don't get it. I am my perception of everything is off. So that's what happens. And then we stop trusting ourselves and we let everyone else tell us what we're supposed to do. When we get that back, when we get that trust back, when we get that intuition back, no one has power over us anymore. That is the work. And so until you get to that place where you say, okay, I've been told a shit ton of lies about myself that I have believed to be truths. I have got to break free from that and understand that those were people who were threatened by me, that saw how much power I had and didn't want me to know my own voice. As soon as you make the decision to kind of flip that switch, you get it all back. You get all the power back.
Whether it's a movie night or just midday, Skinny Pop is a salty snack that keeps on giving. Made with just 3 simple ingredients for an irresistibly delicious taste and a large serving size that lasts. Deliciously popped, perfectly salted. Skinny Pop, popular for a reason. Shop Skinny Pop now.
When did making plans get this complicated? It's time to streamline with WhatsApp, the secure messaging app that brings the whole group together. Use polls to settle dinner plans. Send event invites and pin messages so no one forgets Mom's 60th. And never miss a meme or milestone. All protected with end-to-end encryption. It's time for WhatsApp. Message privately with everyone. Learn more at whatsapp.com.
Yeah, I mean, that is the work, isn't it? Right? You talked about trusting ourselves, and I define confidence as firm and bold trust in self. There are lots of ways that people tell us to look or be confident, but at the end of the day, it's the trust we have with and for ourselves. And I have found that this trusting of myself, letting go of other people's thoughts and opinions, not totally, but over time, this lean towards being a hype woman has become more and more important and maybe easier the older I get. Have you found that to be true too? And why do you think that is?
Oh, baby. When I turned 40, it was just like, yeah, I'm not doing this shit anymore. There is something that happened to me at 40. I have to imagine that there is a significant part of it that is truly microbiologically. We just get to a point where we look around and we say, is this all there is? Is this what I really wanted? I think at that point, for a lot of women, especially women who have careers outside of the home, you have likely achieved or gotten close to the thing that you've been trying to do for the past 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
But what we were never told is that when we got there, we would be a very different person than we were when we were 20. So while we may have achieved it, it may not actually be the thing we want anymore. That's what happened to me inside of corporate America. I said, wait a minute, this is it?
Yeah.
This is all there is? So I think there is such an important step in the re-meeting of ourselves every time we go through these life stages, we go through these metamorphoses, we have a life event that shifts our goals and plans and worldview. We have to sit back down with ourselves and with the people who we are building a life with and say, I'd like to renegotiate the terms. This isn't what I signed up for. So that's what happened with me inside of my first company. I said, oh, you can say that I'm opting out, but I never signed up for this. I've had that conversation with my husband. I'm like, I am not the woman you married. I'm a very different person now. I'm now a mother of 9 and 7-year-olds. I'm a 2-time founder. A lot has happened. I'm in perimenopause. We need to renegotiate sort of my expectations and what I want in life and what brings me joy and what doesn't. And I think a lot of relationships end because we don't have that conversation. Some relationships end because that's the time for them to be done.
Mm-hmm.
We don't grow with everyone. Sometimes we outgrow people. But I couldn't believe that I got to say, this isn't working for me anymore. About my job, about my friendships, about aspects of my marriage. I
Yeah.
didn't know I had that option. I didn't give myself the permission before I turned 40, and then I said, no. Yeah, this isn't working for me anymore. So here's what needs to happen, and if that doesn't happen, then different choices will be made.
This is, I think, so important because we change and evolve and grow, and life throws us curveballs. And this idea of re-meeting ourselves at different stages across our life and then renegotiating and reconnecting what a relationship or an opportunity or a career looks like because of that. Like, my husband and I have had this a few times where it's like our relationship isn't the same because the people who are in this relationship are not the same. And we have to talk about how I've changed, how you've changed, how we've changed, how what we want has changed, and ask ourselves, are we able, willing, capable to show up for each other and for this new version of ourselves and each other? I feel like I'm taking us down a rabbit hole of
No,
not
you're
hype
not.
woman, but
No. So Nicole, no. This is it. This is the conversation. This is the work, because again, you cannot hype other women, until you can hype yourself, and you can't be in your body loving what's going on until you have these conversations with people about why you've changed. Brian and I used to think like, hey man, not every marriage is going to work. My parents got divorced when I was really little. I grew up around a lot of divorce. To me, it was just like, it could happen. And so I always, when we would disagree, I was like, well, this is just another sign we're on our way. And Brian's like, okay, sorry, I'll take the garbage out. I don't think we need to get a divorce.
right.
Right. So like, listen, lots of therapy. I have a lot to work on. I am aware of that. This is my job. But why I know that's not the case now, and why I do believe that Brian and I are in this forever, is because we have had these incredibly difficult conversations about the changes that I was never shown, he was never shown. We are like teaching ourselves how to do this while we're doing it. And we're really honest, like, hey, I don't know how to do this. I know I'm fucking it up. But one of the really important critical conversations that shifted things for us happened a few months ago. And it was, Brian married a really good girl who was climbing the ladder in corporate America at the pace she was told she could do it. And that looked incredibly safe. And he wrapped his head around that. And Brian is a feminist and he wants me to do anything and everything, but he also like really understood that world. And that's the world he's always been in. He has always been inside of tech companies in corporate America. So when I left to start my own company, that disrupted our marriage so deeply because we were entering an uncharted territory.
Mm-hmm.
And he saw both so much that I learned and how I grew, but also how much pain I was in and what I lost in that first company. And so all of his concerns that I felt were judgment, right? That's how I was feeling it, because I was self-conscious about the fact that it didn't work, that it was hard, that things went sideways. But underneath it, again, it's that same thing. Like, wait, am I feeling jealousy or am I feeling envy? No, I'm feeling desire. What he was expressing was concern and care. And so I had to be able to see it that way. But again, when I left that first company, Brian sat me down and said, please don't start another company. And Nicole, I was like, yeah, I don't have an LLC.
Right.
I didn't already buy a URL.
Right.
I'm not waking up between midnight and 3 and building a deck, which I was, right? So those 4 months in between, I said to him, I can't go back. I can't go back to corporate America. I actually don't think that me exiting this company was a sign I couldn't cut it. I think I am built for this. I just don't think these were the right people to do it with. And so this has been a challenge. I'm now 3 years into the company that I solo founded, and Brian continued to come back to me and say, when is it going to be routine and established. It's all over the place. I can't handle this. And so there was this constant tension between us. And I tried to go back. I started interviewing and having conversations a year ago before I started writing the book with consultancies about going back inside. And none of it worked because the universe was like, don't fucking do it. And so I was sitting in this exact spot when I had this conversation with Brian 6 months ago. I said to him, here's the deal. I am not going to be on the receiving end of your inability to accept that I am no longer a corporate good girl. I'm an entrepreneur. I own my own company. This is who I am now. So you have to either accept that or we have to make a different choice about how we're moving forward. Because I can't keep being asked and shamed into going back to something that I am not anymore.
Right.
And Nicole, that conversation changed everything. And he fully shifted and turned towards me in a way because his response back to me was like, this is not your shit, this is mine. And I said, yeah, no fucking shit. I've been trying to say this for 5 years, but welcome to the party, right? We don't always
have those things.
Right? We don't always come to the same conclusion at the same time. And sometimes the other person does come to the conclusion too late. That's possible, where it's like, dude, ship has sailed. But we got to have that conversation. And he got to say, okay, I get it. I get it now. And I'm like, great. Yes, this is going to be a little bit clunky and it's not going to be a check in the mail every 2 weeks like a corporate job. But by the way, corporate jobs aren't safe. You get fired every single day from a corporate job. So let's look at what's possible and let's start building it. And Brian kind of became a hype man to me in a very new way.
Uh-huh.
And so those are the conversations that we have to have. It's not always about the macro and changing the world out there. It's about changing the micro, what's happening inside of your own family and life and system that is going to have the biggest impact.
I feel like that's the crux of all of it. It's this awareness and this releasing and evolving, the judgment and expectations. Those are the words that keep popping into my head. When we go into the mean girl side, it's usually the worst of our judgment and expectations of ourselves and of other people. When we go into the hype woman side, it's more of an exploration. It's more of a being strong, but holding these things loosely, these expectations and judgments of ourselves and others so that we can evolve, so that we can support, so that we can hype. I don't know if I'm saying that very well, but there's something in my head that's pinging around this idea of the shadow side of judgment and expectation versus the using it for growth of ourselves and for other people.
We can't expand into the light, right? The best version of ourselves until we meet the shadow.
Right.
Until we acknowledge and address, hey, this is what's underneath all of this. These are the stories that I'm hearing in my head. These are the naysayers. We have to meet those and say, hey, I'm not going to make myself feel bad that I have these thoughts or that I've felt these things. I'm going to try to understand why, and then I'm going to decide what I want to do with it. That's what I think is this difference between the mean girl and the hype woman. The mean girl doesn't investigate.
Right.
Right? The mean girl just feels a negative thing and then wants other women to feel the same thing. But the hype woman feels the negative thing and investigates it and says, what is this really about? And because I know it's not about her, I'm not going to participate in that. So the way that you said it is actually quite beautiful.
No, the way that is exactly what I was trying. Thank you for putting it into words because that is the crux of what we're talking about here.
Yep.
Erin, I could clearly talk to you all day long, and I'm so grateful for you doing the work that you do and also coming here to encourage us to do it. And ways that I wasn't even expecting. So again, super appreciative of that. I want to make sure our listeners know where to find and follow you. So the book, again, is Hype Women. You can go to hypewomen.com. She has a podcast, Hype Women. Erin, we're going to put everything in show notes, of course. But Erin, thank you again for being our guest today and for being the ultimate hype woman.
Nicole, this has been a really beautiful conversation. I think that the unexpected turns that these types of conversations make because we've created this space to have them, those are the lasting imprints that really do get into our subconscious and start to shift our purview.
Yeah.
So you are a beautiful host.
Oh, thank you.
And really took us there. And so I'm so grateful that you've created this space and invited me to be a part of it.
The pleasure was absolutely all mine. So I'm going to close this out with this. Here's the truth. Mean girls aren't going away on their own, but they don't stand a chance if more of us decide to be hype women. So how do we get into action? Start by noticing where you might be tearing down instead of building up, even in the small, sneaky ways, and flip it. Send the text, make the introduction, clap louder, post the compliment, show up in the front row. Because hype women don't whisper their support, they broadcast it. So go find your front row friends and take your seat in theirs. Cheer louder, celebrate bigger, hype harder. The more we choose to hype each other, the less space there is for mean girl energy to exist. And that is how we change the game. And it is also how we do woman's work.
You know the words that dominate our news cycle.
Private equity keeps inventing
generative artificial intelligence
tax
on home.
America's
fueled by market volatility.
Bets on Fed rate cuts.
But do you truly understand how they impact your world and your wallet? In a world that skims the what, understand the why. Because context changes everything. Subscribe to learn more at Bloomberg.com, the global benchmark for business news.
Every minute your finance team spends wrestling with data is a minute lost. Insight Software's AI-powered insights instantly move you from complexity to clarity. Automated analysis, real-time reporting, strategic recommendations, all at your fingertips. Transform how your finance team works and watch your business grow. Stop wasting time. Start making smarter decisions. Learn more at insightsoftware.com/AI.